Welcome everyone. This is the session about QA reports. It's more or less more the session about collecting the requirements and presenting what's the idea rather than showing what's actually working. It was working, but the concept changed, so I'm just presenting the idea here. Okay, so I'll go through how I think the presentation of the testing results should look like. I'll describe what are the potential sources of the testing results that I'm considering and that are meaningful for the moment. I'll also try to briefly describe about the manual testing and storing those manual testing results somehow. Then about reporting, again, manual and automated testing results all together. And at the end about the storing the defects, reporting the defects, and maybe automatically recognizing the similar defects. So that's the idea. Okay, so there is a slight problem with Lava when it comes to presenting the testing results. So there is no good overall view if you want to cover more than one test job and, for example, your build requires automated testing that spawns among like several jobs, maybe several boards. So after talking to several people, it looks like there is a requirement to have a 3-state dashboard. So basically the states are green, everything's good. So like all the build is good, all the testing went good, no crashes, no breakages, everything's perfect. Then the red, which means something broke, right? The build was broken, it didn't deploy properly to that board, some tests failed, something bad happened, and we don't know what that is, what that something is, basically. And then in normal circumstances, that would be enough. But I heard from several people that they want to have sometimes the tests may fail, and that's acceptable. So this is where the yellow state comes in. So this means like the build was okay, it was deployed to the board, the testing was fine, except for this one test case that we know that is broken and it failed, but we don't care. So this is the yellow state. The dashboard should also group the results in some groups. At the moment, what I did that was most convenient for me, I'm grouping them by the testing job. And then there is a data backend question. So basically at the moment what I was doing so far, I was copying the data from all over the place to my local database and presenting that. That doesn't gonna fly. The problem is that there is a lot of data and copying the data takes time, takes space, and it's not very reliable. So here is how the overall status looks like. So basically here what we have is, that's very small. So there is a dashboard with list of the projects, and the projects have some states of different stages of testing or building and testing. So there is a build, there is boot for this project, and there is test. So the test is red, something went wrong. Then we want to dig deeper and see what actually went wrong, because it appears that our project consists of several different sub-builds. So there are builds with different configurations, and the builds are still green. Then we want to boot those, and the boots are not green. One of the builds was not booted at all, which means that we don't have any data and we don't want to make any decisions. So actually it's not 3 but 4 states, but this 4th state is just means we don't have any data there. And
what is this test status over there?
Sorry?
Test status, what test is that?
Test, well, it's overall. So like all the testing done on the board, right? All the testing done with this build and this configuration, and then we dig deeper, right? And this is the summary of the tests here. So over here, you can see what the tests were run, and we see, well, this is the one that failed, right? So this is when the status is propagated all the way up. So if one test fails in one configuration, on the top dashboard you see like there is red on testing. So from here, what we can do is like say, yeah, this is a bad thing, so something broke, we need to fix it immediately and fix it. Or say, we don't care. If we say we don't care, we go into this state, which is yellow, so there is a test that failed, but someone commented on it, there is like this little box here, saying, yeah, well, that's a known issue, I don't care. It will still run, so we won't, what I would do, I would remove it from the testing at all, because if there is a test that no one cares about, I just remove it to reduce time, because like, why? But there are use cases and there are customers that want to have the test running. Why? I can't tell, I just got the request. So we acknowledge the test and it's yellow, right? If we turn this red into yellow, the overall status here becomes yellow and then it propagates up. So like it basically overrides each other. The red overrides yellows, yellows override green, and so on. And if there are, so this is the situation when there are more tests done from single build configuration. So like, for example, we have Juno boards, and then Juno boards are booted, like we boot Juno board either from the USB or from the network. So we have a couple of jobs here, and then those couple of jobs may then execute different tests. So to have the test results faster, we split the test plan into several pieces and then run on different boards in the hope that the boards are identical and they present the same results every time we test. And then we get the results back, right? Now, this all looks fine. As I said, for now I was copying all the data to the local database, which means that I have to have a plugin for each data source. And the data sources were mainly Lava. There were some tests, and we have some tests in the Android team that run their tests in Jenkins. So basically they have host-based tests that there is no point in basically doing the build, sending to Lava, and then getting the results back. So they run it on the host, which is quick and clean. So the tests are saved in Jenkins, live there. We have tests that executed in Lava and live in there. Then Kevin Hillman has his PyBoot and he stores his, well, he doesn't, but he has his test results there and so on. So there may be multiple of those, and I would have to write a plugin to extract the test from each source. Yeah. Vish, you want to ask something?
No, in the previous in the previous slide, can you go to the previous slide?
To back, oh, if I know how, yeah, okay.
So basically, is that submitted as, when you say the test, you said you have a test plan, right?
Yeah.
Does that test plan correspond to like the test plan in the, you know how you go to in one of the repositories in git.linaro.org there are test plans?
Uh-huh.
And there's a test plan JSON template?
Mm-hmm.
So, but I see 3 jobs.
Yeah.
Are 3 jobs associated with the same single template?
No, there are 3 templates.
Okay, so there are 3 independent jobs.
Well, yeah, but like you can consider
Overall.
3 templates as a single test plan because we divide them just to save time.
Okay, okay. I thought these were dynamically split depending upon the kind of hardware you had. Or
Well, that's
not too
Lava
savvy.
Lava doesn't work this way, right? We would like it to work this way, but it doesn't. Yeah. Anyway, so when I wrote the tool, well, it's online now. I only consider Lava because this was the main use case for me and my team. Now it appears that there are different data sources, so we have to consider other approach. And as I was talking in another session, the idea is to reuse what kernel CI does and store all the results there in hope that we can fit everything there. So like it was the kernel CI stuff, the kernel CI database was designed to test, like to store kernel testing results. And this tool should not be limited by the kernel testing. use case, but it should also handle like JDK, whatever, right? I'm not sure if this can be done, but I have hopes that it can.
I mean, basically, it needs to be, we need to standardize the, like for example, if I have a remote worker farm with Lava or something, and I need to upload the my boot up results and the boot log, I use like some JSON REST API, right?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So for when you're testing the kernel, you're interested if it builds, if it boots, and then you might be interested in some testing. But if you're testing OpenJDK, you have a different use case, right? So you're maybe not interested if it boots because it doesn't boot. It's just runs.
But what I'm saying, it's a test, right? I mean, regardless, it is a test.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Can we just set a format? You know, and tests could be classified into like, you know, pass or fail. Or
yeah,
performance.
that's what we have.
Kernel CI has a for single test. I mean,
Okay.
boot and build are tests per set, but we treat them separately from.
Yeah, they're like a special test. But then the use case like morphs a bit. So we have the build, we don't have boot, and then we have tests, right, for kernel CI.
But is there already a format for the tests to report?
Yeah, there is a
test
format.
regardless?
I can probably show that if I. How do I escape the full screen? Here. Yeah, all right. It was staging. Below
But
stage.
even API don't kind of set.
API.
Yeah.
Oh, the schema.
Schema down.
Oh, sorry.
It was looking for it.
So there is a, this is the schema. If you dig deeper, you get like which fields are mandatory and so on. So this is the schema for storing the tests. So it was, like upon my request, it was divided into several entities. So we have test suite, which basically it's like LTP all together. Then we have test set, which may be LTP syscalls. And then there are test cases, which are test cases in the syscall suite, right? So this is like a tree-like hierarchy that can be hopefully applied to most of the use cases, if not all. And then on top of that, we have also the measurements, right, for benchmarks and defects that are attached to the test sets. Yeah, test set. So if any of the tests in the test set fails, then you can attach a defect there and see that something is broken in the test set. And one more source of the test results is manual testing. So we do some of them. There are use cases that automating a test is not worth because it takes time. It's costly. So it's easier and faster to execute the test manually. But for that, if you want to do it in a organized manner, you have to write the test, add it to some test plan maybe, and then execute and store the results somewhere. Right. For manual testing, I used to have a solution, so a web-based thingy. But for the moment, I consider it work in progress because it was lacking the user permission. So everyone was allowed to do everything. So if someone makes a mistake and deletes test result or test case, it's just gone, and you don't know when you can't help it. That should be fixed. So it should allow viewing the test cases, preparing test plans, and which should be stored. Well, in my opinion, the place for the manual test plans to live is in the tool, and then executing the tests. At the moment, we store the test cases, the manual test cases, in the YAML format, which is very similar to how the test definitions work. So basically, we list the environment, some metadata there maybe, and steps, and expected results, and that's it. I can show that later, probably, or maybe now. I'll show some example. For Android, for example. Yeah. So this is how it looks like. So very similar to if someone is familiar with how Lava stores the test definitions, it's basically the same, more or less the same stuff. We don't have the install here, but yeah. There are steps, there are expected results below, and the idea is to have some kind of web front-end to render those. Now, the reporting is a big topic here, and there is basically tons of ideas, tons of many use cases, and I don't have any strong opinion how that should look like. So it probably should include the release reporting. So every month Linaro is doing a release, and it needs to collect data from several builds, several tests, and then from some free text, some metadata like what tools were used for the build, what's the Git commit of this source tree or this manifest for Android or whatever. So this is something that we desperately need in the QA team. And then in most cases, what I'm hearing is that what is really needed for the other teams is like when they do benchmarking, they need the trend, to graph the trend. And that's the most frequently repeated request. And yeah, I probably...
So the current monthly releases are not tested?
Well,
they don't have like the reports or...
Well, the reports are prepared manually and then copied over.
All before.
So yeah, so it's like we do testing, we do reporting, but it's all manual work at the moment.
Oh, okay.
So it is there, and it takes time. It takes a lot of time.
Yeah, I know.
And the idea is just to have like a click, release, done. So I'm probably too optimistic about that, but
Right.
but yeah, but it needs to be at least at most maybe like an hour job instead of 2 days job.
Yeah, because ideally, at least for the automated test, we'd like to have each build get tested, get a report, and get somehow like connected with it.
Yeah, but then you need to, as I said, you need to add some free text there,
Sure,
maybe some metadata, what was the build, where the build comes from, and then you add the known issues section, like you report errors, and then you add manual tests, results, and so on. So it's not just an automated test; it's
Sure,
more than that. Now, with the known issues, as I presented previously, there is like this yellow state, which means there are errors, or there is a red state, which says there are errors as well. We can attach a defect there, which is like a bug report, maybe an email in the mailing list, or something like that. So we report the problem, and we have the URL with reference. This problem was reported here, right? So now, the problem with this approach is that someone has to do it. It's really hard to do, at least at this point, it's really hard to do automatically if at all possible. I would love to see some kind of solution that finds that takes subsequent builds and tests from the same sources and matches the defects from previous ones to the current one. That would be really awesome. But
Are you doing like regression testing or?
Yeah, something like, so you execute the same test again and again, because like automated testing does only regression testing. You cannot do the exploration, you cannot find new defects with automation. But the defects may repeat, and the problem with that is that even if the same test case fails, it's not always the same defect. So matching those two together would be really awesome. So for the moment, what I'm planning to do is probably just send an email out when we finish the testing. See, okay, these are the errors. This test case failed before. Check if the error is the same, something like that. So for the moment, it will require manual monitoring. My team is responsible for that. But hopefully, in the future, we can do something automated. So match those test results.
And once you open the bug, how do you follow that along with the engineering teams?
Yeah, that's a pain in the ass. So in some cases, engineers just don't care. So in this case, my response would be, okay, if you don't care, we don't test it anymore, because like, what's the point? And so I think the biggest challenge here is to identify the tests that engineers are interested in or that are relevant. So if someone cares about that. So the follow-up, what we we file the bug in Bugzilla at the moment, and then just monitor it. If someone replied or not, then nag them a bit. That's it. That's all we can do. And if there is no response, then probably close the bug, remove the test, forget it. Do you have anything else? No, that's it. So that's it as for the presentation. As I said, it's working now. I have it here. Yeah, so I did a test to check if the yellow becomes yellow. And yes, it does. So those two are yellow. And then if you click on this one, on this guy, it says like, so there may be many comments on the single test. So if I add a comment there, saying, yep, that's my comment. Then hopefully we'll see, yeah, that's my comment there. So that's how it looks like at the moment, but as I said, I would like to keep at least most of the UI of the front end as it is. Maybe the grouping should be redesigned because we don't always work in Lava, we work in some other systems as well. But the backend will change, so I will get rid of my local database and push the data to kernel CI, so it will appear in the kernel CI front end, and the test results should be visible, like should be searchable through here. That's the overall idea. If there are other use cases, I'd love to hear them because that might affect the code. Any questions?
I'm a bit worried about the single column for the test results, because our team runs tons of tests, and we know some of them will be always failing.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, that there should be like a yellow bit, right? So if it's yellow, then you're not worried.
Right, but that means there will be failing test, right? So somebody needs to drill. Red overrides everything all the way up, right? So it will be always red.
Yeah, so it like when it's tested, it's red. But then someone just checks, okay, this was failing, this was yellow.
That's exactly the key, because I can't have somebody go and take 300 tests
and that's what I said. I'd like to have it automated. So if the same test repeats to fail with the same way, and we marked it yellow at some point, it just goes yellow and it copies.
I don't know if that's a solution, because good thing will be actually remove these tests and have a separate column for them. Seen CTS, while it's red all the time. Why? Mm-hmm. But kernel tests, they need to be green. And having separate columns. Maybe that's not a solution, but it's an idea.
Maybe it's like they like a separate jobs, so they will appear on the separate rows here, right? So let me just show.
Otherwise, I find the kind of the main dashboard when you have the build and boot and test statuses, that's really useful. I can't get it with the current image reports, and I would like to have it. So I'm definitely looking forward to it.
So let me just find vExpress. Yeah. No. Oh, I can see it here. Oh, nope, there's just one. Yeah, so you see that job. So if for your use case, like CTS will appear on 5 rows here, right? Then the other testing will appear on separate ones. So.
And also, we have test jobs which pretty much run a benchmark, so it's not really pass, fail. It's a
They're always
number.
they're always
so what will
pass,
happen
right?
to those?
Yeah, I don't know yet.
So it's green as a benchmark didn't crash.
Yeah, green is like the benchmarks was executed and didn't crash, right? And then the red if something bad happens, but we don't. I don't know yet how to present the scores here.
No, this is good. I think that will work.
So say, for example, I'm a member and I'm looking for the LCR, right, Android LCR. And, you know, I mean, just saying this many texts has executed and this many failed is not what really I'm looking for, right? I think of like, you know, okay, basic functionality, right? I mean, I break it down into is the storage subsystem working, is the display subsystem working, is the multimedia subsystem working? I tend to think in terms of domains, and usually the engineers are also, at least at the first level, domain oriented. But I don't see that level of classification here.
Yeah, so you'd have to probably first group your tests around that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that, I mean, it looks like.
So it's just reporting. It's stupid.
Yeah.
So it won't have any kind of logic to say, okay, this test case does this, and then I have a mapping, and then I group around your.
So maybe
your domains.
you basically have you're breaking down your test plan into 3 over here.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they should
Yeah,
be according to. So basically, you have storage subsystem test plans. You have you know.
Yeah, it can be
and so
done
on and so
surely.
forth, and then.
But it's not a matter of reporting. It's just a matter of breaking down your tests, because like then in any reporting tool you would be able to see the results.
I mean, I'm almost thinking whether a particular test plan or a subset of a test plan should have attributes to it as to what subsystem it is testing, or is it an
I guess
overall
the
benchmark?
schema allows us to insert metadata to the results, so we can do that.
Does it make? Yeah, it makes. Okay.
Yeah. So that you can even like have the test plan split into several ones, and then have metadata in the somewhere, but save the metadata to the results. It's not here, and then group with metadata, right?
Which build is this one exactly? Is that an Android build or?
No, that's not an Android build. It's open embedded. I'm not presenting there is some metadata. So you see that there is like a Git commit, architecture, for which branch, which repository, and so on.
How do you know there's an open embedded?
I know. Because that's the only rootfs that we are using with those tests. That's why I know.
Is there an effort to categorize these test plans according to domains or something like that, or no?
No, not that I'm aware of. If you have such a request, then just shoot me an email or send an email to automation at Linaro.
Yeah. I mean, usually the one thing that I do keep hearing is we do all these tests, but it's just so hard for like an end user. And I mean, I like the email that LMG sends actually. You know, the LCR report that month it comes out every month. That's in some ways a lot more useful for, you know, because people don't have the time to look at all these on a daily basis or anything like that. But on a monthly basis, that email actually provides a lot more information usually.
It goes back to what Milo said. That's where the 3 days of work is spent.
Yeah.
And the end of this, I guess, is getting this downwards multiplier as well.
And also, I don't see a separation of, well, maybe there is, but there's typically what I see is, you know, member companies, they have like a daily test plan, critical, it's down to like about 70 tests. And they just want to make sure that it's broken down into like 4 memory subsystem, they take core 7.
Yeah,
and then they have a monthly, and then they have a release.
Yeah, I know, I understand. That I guess we're having similar approach here now. So we limited the daily build, the daily stuff, at least in LCR, to the critical stuff. So we don't, for example, execute full CTS there, because there's no point. And then execute CTS only until release once, and so on. But that's again down to the test planning and execution, and maybe the CI infrastructure, how it works.
But that somehow should be reflected in the reporting, I think. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, so that
Because in the end, that's what mines work, right?
yeah, so that's probably something to be reported as a metadata, right? Yeah. That this is like a daily build, and this is the release candidate build. So not sure how to do it yet.
I guess it just boils down to like classifying your test plans, right? I mean, that's what in the end it boils down to. And if you can do that and get somehow reflect those test plan categorization reflected on the reports, I think that's
So it's like adding metadata to the test plan, more or less. Yeah. Sounds a good idea, I guess. Okay. Anything else? Thank you.